Hi, this is Jack Downs, and welcome to JOU317, Web Design and Production. And I really mean welcome. We're going to be working together for weeks for the semester on this web asynchronous class. And I want to use this introduction, talking in person to you in my office, with my messy office in the background, to give you some overall guidance and ground rules. I will certainly be supplementing some of these rules as we go along. But let me just say that every week, including this first week, you will have an introduction video to the week. This is an introduction video to the entire class, an introduction to the week. And then you'll have tutorial videos and lots of other videos from me. I hope you don't get sick of hearing my voice. But you won't see me that often because in most of these cases, I will be just doing screencasts, showing you presentations, talking, going through tutorials, and so on. You'll see my cursor moving and you'll see me typing, but you won't see my face. And that's one of the problems with these online, especially web asynchronous classes, is that there's a lack of personal touch and you can feel kind of isolated. And if you don't stay in touch much, then beyond the feedback on your assignments, you won't hear from me a whole lot. But I want to let you know that I am on campus and available if you are on campus to meet in person if you wish. I can also meet via phone, via Zoom. I have set office hours, it's true. I don't sit with Zoom open on my office hours, but making arrangements with me. I can connect with you very quickly during any time like that. I have a lot of availability and happy to work with you one way or the other. Be you on campus or off campus. Let me throw that out there. If you want more personal contact and personal work on projects or something together, we can do that. Finally, though, not finally, but along that line, yes, this is a web asynchronous course. That means it requires a higher level of independence of what we call enterprise, of self-motivation. Because you're going to see spread out in front of you, and you already see this because you've probably been on Moodle, because otherwise you wouldn't have found this video. You'll see spread out in front of you week after week after week of what videos you watch, what chapters you read, what assignments you do, what quizzes you take, and so on. So that will just keep on rolling and rolling. They won't necessarily all be available immediately because I don't want people to get too far ahead and do things too quickly. But on the other hand, also because I'm kind of building the course right at the same time right now. This is a course I've taught for many years, and it's a topic that I've worked in for many years. However, this online version of the course is being done fresh. Because of a new textbook and new techniques and so on. So in any case, you'll see that all laid out for you. So it's much more of a when you do things is your decision, as long as you make the deadlines as you go along. Okay, so that's a good and bad thing about the class. Let me back up a minute and ask you to ask yourself, why are you taking this class? Probably because it's required. And that's a good enough reason. Maybe because you're interested in the topic. Maybe because you actually are heading into a career in something to do with computer science and web design and so on. There's all kinds of reasons to take this class. I want to let you know that regardless of the reason you take this class, there's one thing, possibly two, but one especially, that makes all the difference in how well you do. Is how much you commit to the class. I'll be teaching you HTML and CSS, what we call from scratch, or the hard way. In other words, not using any kind of a HTML writing program, an authoring program that does some of the work for you. We're not going to be using templates. You're going to be learning it like a foreign language. And like learning any foreign language, if you try to just sort of carefully move around the edges and don't really commit to really learning it and really using it, you never really get it. And for some people, this is a topic that has that learning to ride a bicycle kind of element. You need to get it. In order to get it, you need to engage in it. In order to engage in it, you need to really throw yourself into it. You don't just read the chapter. You read the chapter, and when you come across examples, you get your computer out and you try them out. Okay? You don't just try to do the exercise because it's an exercise. You do the exercise because the technique you learn there will help you in a big overall project that you'll be doing semester long. That's worth half your grade. So the biggest thing that makes a difference about how people do, the first biggest thing, is whether they really commit to it or just kind of try to get by and learn around the edges. So you have to commit to it. The second biggest thing that makes a big difference is something that you need right away, which is the textbook. I've already sent you an email about the textbook. Hopefully you already got it. This is the textbook. This is the 5th edition, Learning Web Design. I strongly encourage you to get the on-paper physical copy, which should be available used. If those of you who try to use the electronic version, maybe you'll do okay, but I definitely see people to get the on-paper version tend to do better. So I've told you about, ask you about why you take the class, what is required. Something else that's required, those are the two things that are required to really do well: commitment and the textbook. Other thing that's wanted to mention is that something else that's required is you're going to need a program. You're going to need a code editing program. You'll read in your textbook about how you could use a simple program like plain old Notepad on the PC or TextEdit on the Mac. Yes. You can't use Microsoft Word or something like that. No. Extremely simple text editor that doesn't add any formatting could be used. But you'd be much better off if you download a free code editor. And you'll see on Moodle here, as you look around, links to Notepad++, which is the program that I'm going to be using in my tutorials. And it's on a lot of PCs here in the college. If you happen to be on campus and working in the lab, some or all the time, you will have access to Notepad++. So that's a great program. I'll be using it. Another great program, which is available to anybody, again, free, and is cross-platform, so it works for PC or Macs, is Brackets. Bracket is a Adobe kind of a stripped-down text editor. Has some nice functions. Both of these have a minor learning curve. I'm not as experienced with Brackets, so I may have a little more trouble helping you if you have problems. But I've had a number of students, a number of semesters, use Brackets. I do find, get used to it. It has a live view kind of option, which essentially is like opening up the file in a browser, and which is a nice function. So that's another option. And also you'll see here on Moodle, I've given you a list, a link to an article which lists a bunch of other code editors. So you need a code editor, and you shouldn't have to spend any money to get it. And that's about it. That's the only other thing you really need. I guess, and finally, I'll say what this class can do for you, sort of finally. Yes, if you are taking this course because you wanted to become, this would be very, very early starting step in to become a web designer, understanding HTML and CSS, which is, in some ways, this is really an introductory course in this. No previous experience is required. But let's say you still don't want to do that. Okay. Even so, if let's say you're just blogging in WordPress or working in some other more template-based system, there are going to come times from time to time when you will have the option to edit the HTML, to use HTML or CSS. Even in these template-based systems where you're not actually just like creating your own web page from scratch. Even if you never really use web design to design pages complete, and you just use web design to help with the formatting options you have to give yourself a little more control in some of these template-based systems like WordPress and so on, then it will be an advantage in that way too. And finally, the last thing I want to say is to please stay in touch. Especially with this web class, it's easy to become just isolated in your own little work. Drop me emails, make connections. Again, I'd be happy to talk with you on the phone or meet on Zoom. Or sometimes what I'll do is send me your problem, and I can make a little personal video of what the solution is or what it is you overlooked or so on. This is the kind of topic area in class where a lot of self-organization is required, and like careful proofreading of your work. And it's the kind of class where you can be looking at something for a long time and keep not seeing the one stupid misspelling or error that's keeping something from working. And when you get into that kind of feeling like you hit a wall and you just can't see what's wrong, it can be useful to just wrap it up, email it to me, say, hey, I can't figure out what's going on, and we can have a session and go over it. So stay in touch, and please, although this is a web class, realize that you don't have to do everything on your own. You can get help if you need it. Okay. Please now, as you continue, watch the videos and then do the assignments as we go. And welcome to the class.